In the following set of tutorials, we're going to take a look at prototyping websites, or comping websites rather, in lots of different software, Photoshop being one of them. So we'd like to get our website from a wireframe mock-up, basically, to the full mock-up for what everything looks like in exactly the right place, so that our clients can sign off on our websites and say, yes, build that. So there's lots of different steps involved with this, so let's take a look at basically the beginning. First, you're going to probably start off with some sort of little sketches. This is not the best sketch to ever show your client, especially with what it says. So then we might go and sketch out some different ideas here. And one of the things I really liked about this particular sketch is they even wrote down numbers. They put it on a grid, the 960 grid system. They tried to figure out how wide things would be. So they're definitely more accurate about what's going to be happening on that website. Now, taking some lessons from redesigning the Expression Engine site, here's where they've gone through the entire process as well. They started looking at their old website and where things were and what the different elements were and where they needed to take these elements and put them. Then they created kind of a new clean wireframe, just a very simple design element, designed version of the site, of course with nothing that actually looks accurate, but it gives people a good idea of what's going to go where. They redesigned their logo, and then they started implementing design elements. They started implementing colors and screenshots and buttons and all sorts of different things. And they went through a few different designs for that, until finally they came up with what they now consider the final version. Now, there's a lot of things that they really considered. They considered everything down to how large the icons were, whether or not they were legible, whether or not they were meaningful. They looked at pixel perfect positioning, because pixel perfect positioning is absolutely crucial when you are doing a mock-up. It has got to look perfect. There's no room for error, because your clients are expecting that when they see this mock-up that you're going to go ahead and design what they see, and they want to see it look good so that when you go and design it, you also make it look good. And they even got down to the pixel perfect positioning of how the borders would look. And you can see right here that border is a little bit fuzzy, and here it's not. And that's something in Photoshop that we can fix, and I'll show you how here in a little bit. Anyway, that's a great website to kind of get into comping, but it's not the only resource out there. I just suggest that you definitely go to it because it has some great information. Now, here's another website, which is a local designer, and they've got some great designs on their site, so I'm going to just take a look at some of the things here. Here's a website for Architect, and you can see they make professional photographic and imaging products, and they've been very detailed about what text is going to be on the main navigation, the sub-nav, or rather utilities that are here, what are they going to be the main products, and then maybe some browse navigation. On another website, they have similar items. They have the main navigation, they have the utilities, they have search bar, they have some social networking items, and social networking items are definitely an important thing to consider adding to your page. They have breadcrumb trails, they have browse navigations, they have main content, they have some sub content, and they've got some nice graphics as well. Same sort of thing here. Logo, phone number, main navigation, some graphics with some other ones, some other browsing navigation, and then maybe some sidebar content. I like this one as well because the fact that it's using some components such as select boxes and input boxes for calendars, search, and these are elements that you can find on websites all over the place. The nice thing about it is that you can beg, borrow, and steal these elements from those other websites. Just take a screenshot, cut it out, just the little piece that you need, and place it into your drawing. And we'll see that here in a little while. Here's another one that's got nice graphic that extends beyond the edge, so it's a nice full graphic design. Here's another one that's a little bit more open, but still has that edgy look. And they've incorporated some nice edges in here, some photographic edges. So these are the kinds of details that you want to see in this type of prototype. You want to see things look really quite good. Another one that's quite clean. Alright, so if you need inspiration, the best place to go is go to Google, and you'll find all sorts of stuff about comping and prototyping websites. And then, of course, you can find things like this, which is 10 tips on creating website mockups in Photoshop. And it says things like use shapes and shape layers as often as possible. It says go ahead and use blending options are your friends. Go ahead, and this is a very important one, use crisp anti-aliasing on your font layers. Now, crisp anti-aliasing, you'll notice that this text is nice and crisp, or none. Crisp or none, I think, will work really for both of them. If it's smaller than 11 or 12 points, then you want to set it to none. You don't want it strong because that's not what website text looks like. So it's going to be either crisp or none. That's pretty much it. I would suggest taking it to none because then it even looks more like website content. Anyway, make sure that you use web-safe fonts, that any of the parts that would have live text, meaning that if it is the title like this up here or the logo, you can use your own fonts, but anything else needs to have web-safe fonts in your prototype, in your comp. Make sure that you organize things well. Now this goes for Photoshop and any other software that you might be using. Now, in Photoshop, it's most important that you organize things well. In something like Illustrator or Flash or some other software, because the layers are automatically there and they're not going to intersect and you can group layers and ungroup layers easily, it's not going to be quite as important as the organization that you should have in Photoshop. But I definitely suggest that you consider it a very organized workflow in whatever software that you use. Go ahead and make sure that you get the width right, and this is something that's going to relate to getting a grid system going on. And there are lots of different grid systems for you to start with, and we'll take a look at those in a second. When it comes to mocking up things like forms and other elements, don't invent the wheel. There are lots of collections of form elements and boxes and stuff all over the place. All you have to do is go and find them. And if we take a look at this, here's all these different check boxes and scroll bars, and you can download any of these and use these quite effectively in your designs. You can even get them off of other websites. So make sure that you do that. Use all the resources you can find when it comes to fonts and colors and bullets and icons, palettes, color palettes. It's going to be really important. And another thing that I really liked about this page is they actually have a mock-up that you can open. And here's what that mock-up looks like. If I take a look at my different layers on the side, you'll see that they have organized things together. So that's quite good. And I do want to point out, though, that I just don't really think that Photoshop is always the best tool for prototyping or comping. And the reason why is because it's overly complex. You can't just easily take these elements and grab them and move them the way that you want, because it's not that type of application. So it means that dealing with multiple layers and different things is not as easy in Photoshop as it might be in other applications. But we'll get to that later. Now, when it comes to grid systems, you'll find grid systems all over the place. 960 grid system is a really good one, and of course you can use the custom CSS generator, and this is a nice one. So this is the typical layout, which is 960, but if you really want, you could change it to whatever number that you want. I would definitely suggest that you stick with numbers that are easy to work with, because then you are going to get the output that you want. Now, you can download a template from them. You can download templates from other websites, such as this resources, 65 resources for grid-based design. If you go down later, it's got all these tools for making grids, and a lot of them have templates that you can just install in Photoshop. such as one that I closed. Anyway, I actually did it a little bit different. Here's one that I downloaded from one place that has a grid with all these guides already for me. Or I can go ahead and I copied and pasted the image from that website. I just took a screenshot and pasted it right into the center of a 1024 or 1200 pixel wide image right here. And whoops, excuse me. And it gives me exactly what I need. This is what I'm going to use as a guide for when I actually start doing my web design. And it's so important that you have this to begin with and that you use it religiously so that you have really good, clean, perfect web design. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that so I can't move it, because that's going to be a guide layer that I will be using quite a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my video, and we can go on to the next one when we start looking at some of the aspects I want you to consider in each of the different software applications.